Hi, my name is Connor, and I review things. And today we are going to be reviewing a fun one. We all know it, we all love it, the shoe. The shoe itself. Okay, so what inspired me to do a review over this shoe? Oh, bars. Why I wanted to review the shoe is because I love shoes. Shoes are good. They don't allow you to be hurt when you walk. Your feet won't get hurt when you walk. Let's say you're walking on concrete, you would not want to walk on socks or bare feet. That's why shoes are there. Shoes are good because they protect your feet from getting injured or hurt. They protect your feet from getting hurt. And I love shoes. Okay, so that's why I'm gonna review them. I've been wearing shoes for my whole life. So again, I feel like I am qualified to do the shoe review. So let's get into it. What is the makings of a shoe? So first we have the shoe, right? Shoe is great. Um, it comes with the tongue. So the tongue is like what holds the shoelaces in place, sort of, kind of. It actually just protects the your foot from interacting with anything outside of the shoe, like the shoelaces actually, and anything that would get in it. So that's what the tongue does. It also, it's a little design tool as well. People usually make the tongue look a little cool, right? The next thing we're going to talk about is the shoelaces. Shoelaces are there to tie your shoe to your foot. If you did not have the shoelaces, and some shoes actually don't possess shoelaces, I will clarify this. This is just a general shoe review. There's no specific shoe. I'm not reviewing this shoe. It's just the shoe that I'm wearing today and my shoe. You get the gist. So shoelaces, right? What they do is they tie your shoe to your foot. For example, the tongue without the shoelaces would just kind of fly out. Without the barriers, the shoelaces protecting, the tongue would fly out, and your foot would actually fly out as well. So the shoelaces are there to tighten your foot or your shoe to the foot. Oh, actually, that's a good concept. Are you tying your foot to the shoe? No, you're tying your shoe to your foot because the shoelaces are part of the shoe. So, yes, we have the shoelaces, correct. And you can tighten them to your adjustments. You can have them a little looser, a little tighter. I know for style purposes, people like to go looser, but for purposeful purposes or like work purposes, people go tighter because you want that firm shoe on your foot. The next thing we got is the overall build of the shoe, right? The thing that makes up the shoe. So this is going to be like your sides and your top and your heel as well. So this is the build, is what we would call it um, in the shoe world. Just kidding, I have no clue, but it's what I'm gonna call it. Some shoes have different material and stuff, but overall, this material is gonna make up the build, and this is what's gonna keep your shoe last longing, depending on the material. And yes, builds are what makes the shoe itself. Some shoes are gonna have different builds than others. That makes it different, right? So the build is what makes up the shoe particularly, and is what's going to protect your foot from the most things. And then we have the sole of the foot, the insides, right? What you're stepping on. So the sole it's very interesting as well because the sole of the foot, not the foot, the shoe is what's protecting the bottom of your feet. And what we know is that the bottom of your feet is actually probably needs to be protected the most because it's absorbing the most impact out of your body when you're walking or running or doing anything with movement. It's absorbing the most impact. So the sole is very important, and a good sole can get you a long ways in life. Remember that. Now that we understand the build of the shoe, and it's not an in-depth build or what the shoe is made up of. I'm not going to go too in depth in it. What do I actually think of the shoe? Well, like I said, I've been wearing shoes practically my whole life. I love shoes. They can provide a lot of different things. First, the main thing, which is the most important, is the security of the foot. Are you sure your foot is going to be okay? This is important because This is the main purpose of the shoe, is to protect your feet from anything hurting it and whatnot. And so that's the main thing, is security, right? The next thing is, and I'm not, this is not as important, but apparel. Does it look good? You know, shoes, a lot, the shoe game is different nowadays. Boots were generally just worn for a greater protection of the foot. That was the whole point of the boot. The boot. I'm just mispronouncing things. The boot. That was what the boot was for. And now people wear boots just out and about, and not knocking or anything. I'm just saying that's what people do. Anywhere you go, you'll see a boot, at least for where I'm from. So now we'll see now that shoes are generally, at least in America, meant for apparel and not so much of the protection. Granted that they're still being protected from the concrete or the environment that they're in, right? But the main one of the main things now is apparel. Is it important? Are the shoes important? Yes, shoes are very important, and honestly, I would think it's a probably top 10 necessity for me. I'll say it. I'll say it. I don't think there's a couple things that I need in life, and the shoe is one of them. I would not survive without shoes. I would build calluses on my feet. Maybe that would be cool, actually. But if you think about it, the calluses are kind of like a shoe. Yes. So let's take a look at the evolution of the shoe. Actually, no historical backing with this, but from my knowledge, general knowledge, the shoe was, like I said, originally just had the purpose of protecting you, and then it's evolved over time into an apparel, right? And you'll even see shoes go for around $3,000, sometimes, even more. I've seen shoes that are worth $46,000. So shoes are just one of those things where it's like, wow, like they are a lot of money for no reason sometimes. Now, I think shoes are one of the better investments you can have, because if you get a good shoe, let's say, I don't know, I'm not going to give any names or anything, but let's say you get a good shoe, right? And it's comfortable. That's a big thing. People like comfortability with shoes as well. Because you don't want to just walk around with bricks on your feet. You know, it might be protecting you from the environment, but gosh, are you coming home with blisters? You know, nobody wants that. So comfortability is a big aspect as well. And so let's say you buy a shoe, right? And it's comfortable, it protects you, it's long lasting, and it only costs you about $120. You know, you could say, dang, $120, it's kind of a lot for a shoe, right? But in the grand scheme of things, $120, and let's say it lasts you like 4 years, you know, that's a good investment, because you're wearing that shoe. You could potentially wear that shoe every day for 4 years. Now, what I'll say this is that they're actually making shoes differently nowadays than what they used to in the old times. I don't know what old times is. I don't know what year I'm talking about, but generally in old times, shoes were actually meant to last 30 years, long, maybe even longer. They were meant to last quite a bit of while, and they were generally still pretty expensive, but they would last you. And the purpose was that you had a pair of shoes that you would just have, and you didn't have to go buy another pair of shoes. You would, and that's why carpenters were pretty popular back in the days, because you would cherish these one pair of shoes, and then you would go and clean them up and stuff. But they would last quite a bit. And now what we're starting to see with shoes is that they generally will last you anywhere from 1 to 5 years at the most. I've never had a pair of shoes that's lasted me 5 years, and this is because we have seen a shift in shoes. Is that it's generally more about apparel, but also companies are going to want you to come and buy their shoe again. Otherwise, they're not going to make as much money, and so that they make them cheaper, which is you know what, it's your opinion on what you think of that. I won't give any opinions. I'll just say that's what has happening. But yeah, so that's kind of how shoes have evolved, and now we get to this point where, you know, shoes, generally a good shoe is about $100 to $200, depending on where you're buying it from. What are my overall thoughts and feelings about the shoe? Well, man, I like the shoe. I'm gonna rate it pretty high. I'll say I'm gonna give it a 91. Shoes are 91, And let me kind of just briefly go over the reasons why I'm going to rate it this high is because one, I feel it's a necessity to live. Protection, not maybe not to live, right, but at least to have your feet be protected. And that's a pretty important part. It can because of that it boosts morale, right? Having shoes that will protect your feet from being hurt will in turn boost your morale because your feet are not getting hurt. So I think it's a morale booster. It protects your feet. If you it provides a form of comfort as well to your body, your feet. In my life, shoes have served me well. Now, the reason why I'm not gonna rate them 100, the thing that I have a problem with and an issue is now how long they last. I wish they actually would last longer. I wish, we could go back to a point where shoes were lasting you 30 years and you would just have one pair of shoes and you would take that shoe everywhere. I think that would be a great point, a great way to go back to now because we're in this shift where, shoe companies are wanting to make money, so they make them cheaper, and basically for the same price. We're seeing that shoes don't last nearly as long. They're getting worn out within a year, and they'll still last you, but they're gonna look worn out, right? Now, there's ways that you can take care of your shoes and protect them, but generally, if you're gonna wear one pair of shoes for a year to a year and a half, they're gonna be pretty much dead by then. I'll give you an example, and I'm just bringing up an example. I'm not saying anything. I'm just bringing up an example. I bought some Hokas about 2 years ago for running, and they lasted me about 8 months, and I liked them. They were pretty comfortable shoes, but they lasted me 8 months of running. Now I'm not saying I know how to fix this issue or anything. I'm just saying that's what happened. And so, yeah, that's why I'm not gonna rank it 100, but I still value the shoe a lot. And I think the shoe is pretty valuable. I think I'm gonna challenge y'all to go and think about the shoe, like your shoes. Go and just think about your shoes for a minute. Think about which ones have done you well. Think about which ones you want to spend most of your time into. Um, but other than that, this has been a review with Connor Does Reviews. I thank y'all for watching it. I hope y'all stay well out there. I hope that your feet stay comfortable and well as well. And yes, God bless and God bless America. Peace.